Good evening, my dark family and light family. I am your host, Morgan Dragonmoon, and I am broadcasting live, pre recorded, in the veil between both worlds. First of all, welcome everybody to Into the Mystic. For those who do not know who I am, I will introduce myself. My name is Morgan Dragonmoon. Well, that's not my real name anyways, but my real name is Matt Mesa. I am just an average person, just like everybody else, who has a day job. But I would go into more, but I don't want to bore you out of what I wish to talk about this evening. So anyways, if you're wondering why I picked the name Morgan Dragonmoon, well, it all started in the year 2015, after my grandfather died. I was questioning whether or not what religious beliefs I should follow. I was, at the time, I would consider myself Christian at the time, but I wasn't very strong in my faith. Like, you see the street preachers preaching that you're going to hell in a handbag if you don't do anything right. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like Robin
Williams is burning in hell.
Yeah, like that kind of street preacher stuff like that. So anyways, after my grandfather died, I had a couple options in my life, honestly. I thought about going down the I'm not going to believe in God anymore path, the atheistic path. And then I thought, well, I don't really consider myself an atheist. So then I went to the library, and oddly enough, I was just looking around for a book about like the different religions and stuff, because I was going to make up a character, a fictional character. And I picked up a book about pagan religions. It was one of those inclusivity books, like for a business or a school or something like that. Almost like something you would give like for a law enforcement thing too. And I started reading that, and when I was reading the part about Wicca and like spirituality and stuff like that, it was resonating with me a lot more than being an evangelical Lutheran was. So I became a born again pagan. That's what some people in the pagan community would call it. And I really don't consider myself practicing a religion. I more or less practice a spirituality path. But if I did call myself a religion, I would say it is Wiccan. And I would consider myself a witch. Not like the,
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
because most people will automatically assume, like, when you say witch, you're like the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz. And they would be like, well, are you a good witch or a bad witch? And, well, in my experience, I don't believe in good or bad. It's more or less just two sides of the same coin in this reality. So then once I told my parents that, they were kind of very concerned about it, because, they thought I was going to be joining like some kind of cult or something, and like my mom kind of compared it to Scientology or whatever. I don't know. It's all water under the bridge. But anyways, that's kind of like a brief summary of how I got to this point. And Yeah, I've been a witch since 2015. So, kind of give you a quick summary. I was born September 2nd, 1990 in a Presbyterian family. Then after the flood of 97, we still went to the First Presbyterian Church in Grand Forks, but for some reason my family was having issues with their leader or something, so then we decided to go to a different church, and we went to the Cottonwood Community Church in Grand Forks, and we were members of that for a while. Then afterwards we didn't really go to church anymore, and that's kind of where it's been that, and that's kind of how I ended up converting to a different religion. So anyways, enough about that. Why don't we let's see, what time is it now? It is 10:58 p.m. Why don't we take a look at the current positions of all the astrological objects right now? Currently, the sun is 19 degrees 23 Capricorn. The moon is 11 degrees 39 Cancer. Mercury is 19 degrees 7 Capricorn. Venus is 25 degrees 39 Aquarius. Mars is 4 degrees 35 Sagittarius. Jupiter is 8 degrees 47 Capricorn. Saturn is 22 degrees 28 Capricorn. Uranus is 2 degrees 39 Taurus, and that is in retrograde. Neptune is 16 degrees 27 Pisces, and Pluto is 22 degrees 41 Capricorn. And the node is currently 7 degrees 45 Cancer, retrograde. The dark moon Lilith is 28 degrees 4 Pisces, and Chiron is 1 degrees 47 Aries as of right now. Well, now it's 11:03 p.m., but as of right now, that's where they're at. So, and currently the full moon is going to be tomorrow in Cancer. It's going to be the full cold moon, I think it's what it's called. Yeah. So anyways, that is it for looking at the heavens and stuff like that. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, I know what we should talk about. Let's talk about what would be a good thing to talk about? So anyways, I'm going to put a Facebook page for this podcast if anybody is interested in following it. I'll design a logo for it, and hopefully the name Into the Mystic's not taken. If it is, then it's not a big deal. I can always change the name and change the intro and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I know what we could talk about. How about we talk about this movie that has been gaining a lot of memes and stuff around lately, and has been kind of symbolic of how our reality is. It is a movie that starred Rowdy Piper in it. It's called They Lived. Let me check here when it came out. They Live came out in the year 1988. It was released on November 4th. The running time is 94 minutes long, and had a budget of $3 million. It ended up getting a box office of $13 million. What else? Gave it an 86% approval rate on Rotten Tomatoes, and the average rate is 7.2 out of 10. This movie is one of those movies that very well-known movie, and one line in particular is very much quoted all the time. The line is, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum." And it looks like in the video game Saints Row the Fourth, they lived level towards the end of the game, and you get to unlock Roddy Piper as a combat ally. Interesting. So you're probably wondering, what is this movie about, and why has it gotten a cult following, and then now it's entered popular culture and impacted street art and stuff like that? Well, the premise of the movie is there's a drifter who gets a construction job, and he hears a street preacher talking about a group of people that have been recruited to control the rich. That have recruited the rich to control the humanity and stuff like that. You know, kind of like the whole Illuminati. What's the other name of the Cabal? Like they keep you asleep. Like they don't want you to realize that, hey, you're actually in a controlled reality, and they have control over you. Because they rather just feed off of you, kind of thing. So basically, the movie is about that, and these aliens that are controlling people look like they have like a skull face, and they're like grayish. They just look awful. And then he gets these special sunglasses that actually could see all this stuff, and the sunglasses are like symbolic to you opening up your third eye. So like he could see the aliens, whereas if you don't have them on, they look just like us. And it's a really good movie. I highly suggest you watch it. It is very informative. And there's one part in the movie that is probably my favorite part, where he sees one of the vendors selling stuff, and he's holding money in his hand, and when he has the glasses off, it's like regular dollar bills and stuff, but then like when he puts the sunglasses on, it says, "This is your god," referencing like how most of the non-awakened masses worship money like it's a god, and like they pretty much live their life by money and stuff like that, which is pretty sad in my opinion. So if you're interested, what I want to talk on the show is I want to talk about stuff with the occult, pop culture stuff, like just kind of random stuff I like to talk about. Sorry I say that a lot. It's just hard for me to think and stuff like that. I'm doing this all on the fly, like when you watch certain movies and they have these unscripted jokes, that's all off the fly, off the cuff thing like that. Yeah, I'm watching the movie right now, and the they have the skull people on TV, and behind the guy talking says obey. It's just too funny. It's like it's so Orwellian. It's just great. Not great that it's Orwellian, but it's like, are you kidding me? It's like you can see the clear picture now, and it's just a really good movie. Um, and what's another good movie I like? There's another good movie that's gotten pretty popular now. It was in the early '90s. It came out. It was called The Craft. You ever heard of that movie? Yeah, that's a very good movie too. I I first watched that movie after like maybe a 3 months or a couple months or something after I converted. I mean, it was a really good movie, and from what everybody's told me, it's almost pretty accurate of how they show like how Wicca is and the craft, like how witchcraft is kind of it portrayed a little bit. Yeah, they do have like the special effects, like how in all these magic movies do, but kind of like the ritual structured part about it, and like the more like the mechanic stuff about it is pretty accurate because I think they had consultants on there helping with that. Yeah, from what I heard. Okay. Wikipedia, for some reason, is saying that one of the actresses in the movie is actually a real life Wiccan. I thought she said she wasn't. I know she owned like a like an occult store, but I don't think she it actually is. If she is, then that'd be really interesting. Because then I think she might have been one of the people that helped them like make all the stuff as realistic. Okay, yeah, that was just a rumor. According to this one website, Feruzia Bulk, that's um the lady that plays Nancy Downs in The Craft, is not a practicing pagan. She just learned about it before coming on the film. Because there's so many like stories about her being a witch and stuff like that, and she does own an occult shop though, but she is not one. But all these other places are saying she is. Okay, there's another site that's saying she is. You guys be to decide. I honestly don't know. I think she is, but she might be back in the broom closet, in my opinion. I honestly don't know though, but uh, back then, in the early '90s, early 2000s, it was not widely accepted still. I mean, there are still people today that are heavy thumpers around the area here. And I'm actually surprised at how many pagans and occultists are actually around here, though, which is very surprising. Alright, and so let's get back to talking to the craft. Pretty much the synopsis of the movie is the main character named Sarah Bailey. She moved from San Francisco to Los Angeles with her father and stepmother. And she ends up going to a Catholic school, you know, the stereotypical Catholic schools where, like, you wear the uniform and all that stuff. And then she ends up meeting 3 people. First one's Bonnie Harper, who has burn scars from an auto accident. Nancy Downs, who lives in a trailer and her stepfather's abusive, and Rochelle Zimmerman, who is an African American and subject to racist bullying from a group of white girls, you know. So then she finds out that they're all witches, and they notice that she actually has abilities. Like, there's a scene in the class where she's staring at a pencil and causes the pencil to stand straight up on the tip, and then as soon as one of the people notice her, it falls back down. And they recruited her into their coven. And, well, pretty much they needed a 4th person to become more powerful. And they ended up using their spells and stuff like that to help improve their lives. Like, Bonnie starts to miraculously heal. Rochelle's racist bully starts to lose her hair. Nancy ends up pushing hers a little bit further by causing her stepfather to have a heart attack and die. And that causes Nancy and her mother to cash in on his life insurance policy and move into a better place. That a lot of people would be like, oh, that's dark and you can't really take another person's life. I mean, yeah, killing another person's wrong, but it's just like there's a lot of gray and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, in real life, it's harder to do that in real life than it is to do in fiction, but I'm not going to go off of that tangent right now because it would take too much time to talk about that. But, so anyways, then Nancy becomes greedy with power and does the right where she ends up getting, more abilities, and she starts becoming less empathetic. Kind of starts becoming really, really dark. And turns on turns on Sarah and causes her to stuff to happen in her life, and they try to tempt her to commit suicide again. But Sarah ends up invoking the spirit, heals herself, and then she scares off Bonnie and Rochelle and defeats Nancy and binds her from ever doing anything again. And then Bonnie and Rochelle try to make amends with Sarah, and they think that Sarah doesn't have her powers anymore. But what they don't realize is that she still has them, and she's still pretty powerful. because Sarah is not using her powers for selfish reasons. She's using them for just reasons, I guess. But yeah, Bonnie and Rochelle are pretty much the same after the whole thing ends, but Bonnie doesn't have like her scars anymore. They're gone still. I'd say that the worst thing that happens to any of the three is what happens to Nancy. She ends up losing her powers and is pretty much committed to a psychiatric hospital, because there's some people that told me that if you have mental issues and like disability and stuff like that, and you mess with stuff in the occult, or like you start dabbling in the occult, it can mess up your mind. It all depends, though. You have to have a strong will and a strong mind to do stuff with magic and everything like that. Alright, so we are at almost 27:30 in this show. I'm probably going to wrap it up around the 30-minute, 40-minute mark. I don't want it to be super long, so what else do I want to talk about? Oh, sorry, I just had a blank spot there for a second. Yeah, I also I'll talk about my business a little bit here. I happen to run a small business. It's called Jade Dragonmoon. It's located in Grand Forks here. Um so what it is, it's a healing. I do healings and readings. Like with oracle cards and stuff like that. I do practice tarot, but I'm not very good at tarot yet. But eventually I will be. And I also do sell products as well. I sell essential oil blends. I also sell essential oils, crystals. Eventually I'm going to sell incense, smudges, the whole metaphysical, new age occult stuff. My goal is to kind of have a store in Grand Forks, like who I describe as an example, like Crystal Rock Healing in Fargo. They have a really neat store, but it's more or less like a crystal store. It's not really a metaphysical store. I guess a good store to compare would be the Eye of Horus in Minneapolis, even though I've never been there before. The one store I've been to that I really liked was Crowhaven Corner, and that was in Salem, Massachusetts. If you ever go out to Salem, Massachusetts, you need to check out that store. That is an amazing store. It's the oldest shop in Salem. The person that runs it is amazing. Her name's Lorelei. She also has an Airbnb above her shop. She's a really nice person. Very good store. Very lovely people. You need to check them out. Salem's got a lot of great shops in that town. I might just talk about Salem for the last little bit. This is just to let you know about it. I mean, I have always wanted to go to Salem ever since I was a young kid. It more or less kind of got that way when I watched Hocus Pocus. But then, I read so much about how Salem is and their culture and history, and it's like, I really want to go check that town out. And I happen to have the pleasure of doing that in the year 2018. I went in June, or was it July? I can't remember what. I think it was June, because it was during the lunar eclipse, and it was just really powerful energy from that place, and It felt really good. I mean, I loved it there. The atmosphere was amazing. The people were nice. It was just a great place. I felt just at home there. And I'm planning on going there again this year. But as of right now, I still have to build up my funds and figure out when I. But I highly recommend anybody going there once, especially if you follow spirituality and stuff like that. If you do ever want to go during Halloween, I suggest you book in advance for a hotel, because they sell out like crazy, and the population of the city gets so big during that time that there's so many people there because of Halloween and stuff like that. It's just packed. But one thing I highly suggest, if you're out and about there on Halloween night, be careful about the street preachers, because there is going to be street preachers there. I personally have not had to deal with street preachers in Salem. Thank the gods and goddesses I didn't have to worry about that. But anyways, yeah, it is a really awesome place to go, and I highly suggest you put that on your bucket list or whatever list you have. It's a really fun place to go. Great food, great people. It's a blast. Fantastic. It was amazing. I'm sorry, I'm doing a really horrible Donald Trump impression. So what if I am? It's a really huge opportunity to try to do a Donald Trump impression. One of the best, 100% accurate. I can't do it anymore. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's just. It was fun. So, it is about almost 34 minutes into the podcast. I am going to probably wrap it up here right now. But thank you all for listening to this podcast, and hopefully you come again and listen again. We might talk about something interesting next week. I'm not sure what yet, though, but I will keep you posted. Oh, posted. Sorry, I said postpone. Wow, I'm gonna postpone this. But yeah, thank you for listening. This podcast is called Into the Mystic. It was recorded on January 9th, 2020. The year 2020. The music at the very beginning is called The Great Unknown. It is made by Audioonics. I think that's how their name's pronounced. It is a free track to use, and the rights are for them. So that's about it. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye.